Order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of January 26, 2021, 6:30 p.m. web-based special meeting. Planning and Zoning Commission will hold an executive session to discuss pending litigation Oakwoods LLC and Timothy Draper versus Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Bethel. I'd like to invite into the executive session. This is a motion to set up an executive session. Beth Cavagna, Nancy LaBalbo, David McCollum, and attorney Charles Andrus. If I may have a second to my motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
I saw you were busy, Pen.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We are now in executive session.
Okay, so the
Okay, we're recording.
And I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Second your motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next on our agenda, work session, DeMarco, site plan, special permit, mixed use development, 155 Greenwood Avenue.
Pat, don't we have to do the minutes?
Yeah, we have to.
Oh,
do
I turned my page too quickly. Thank you, Penny. Thank you.
Well, I'm sitting here going, huh?
No, first on our agenda is our meeting minutes of January 12th. If everyone had an opportunity to read them, if I may have a motion.
So
I move that we accept the minutes from January 12th.
Second.
You. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Need to hear voices.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. All right, now moving on, we will move on to 155 Greenwood Avenue, again. Site plan special permit, mixed use development, 155 Greenwood Avenue, and I'll turn this over to attorney Peter Olson.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening, everybody. This is Peter Olson, and I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. I'm going to try to share my screen if that's possible.
Peter, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
I can talk louder.
Okay,
I don't know how to turn my volume up. I haven't changed anything on it. so.
okay.
I gave Dinus and Michelle the night off, although Dinus may be observing what we're doing, but I wanted to highlight the most significant change in the site plan, which is the loading space and emergency vehicle space, we'll call it, to the location between building C and D, which is where the proposed fire hydrant is located. This is the hydrant that I'm circling with the hand. What we've done is we've added an island here, a loading space on the left side here that will be signaged with loading between 9 and 12 a.m. And then next to that is a no parking emergency vehicles only space. That will allow what the fire marshal requested, which was to allow an ambulance sized vehicle to back in and turn around and leave. It's my understanding that Tom Galliford has sent an email to the commission indicating he's reviewed this plan and is satisfied with it.
Oh, okay.
So that takes care of the civil engineering side. We have made some changes to the architecture to reflect the comments at the last meeting. And I'd like to ask Alyssa Volpati to go through those. Alyssa.
Sure. Do I have screen sharing abilities? Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't think that's me. So I'm not great at this. I'm trying to find the submission from the 12th. And
Okay, it'd be on the January 12th, I believe. Or no, I put everything in the 26th agenda, Alyssa.
yeah, I mean, I have it minimized, but I don't know why it's not loading.
There you go.
This is the new one, so I apologize. I do want to show the one from 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Is it the other tab on your screen, Alyssa?
always happens.
David, can you look and see if you can find it?
In the Google
In the
Drive for
Drive.
this meeting?
Yeah, it'd be the submittal for the 112 meeting.
I apologize. It's minimized right on my screen, but then I don't see it when I select share screen. It's just not there.
It's okay. We
Uh,
have a Tech
oh.
guru here.
Wait a minute. There it is. Do you guys see that?
Nope.
No, we see you.
Try to share screen again, Alyssa.
Oh, boy. Okay. I apologize.
Okay, I'm looking in the background in the instance you're not able to find that.
There you go.
Ah, there you go.
That it?
Yes.
Got
There we
it.
go. All right. So this is the composite rendering of both sides of the street from 2 weeks ago. Above, we see the alley side and below the parking lot side. And what I wanted to point out is 2 weeks ago, Building C was kind of the unique building. So we had done some architectural detailing to really make this unique. In the new presentation, we have decided that C and D will have different features, but they will be similar to each other. And for the most part, Building E over here has remained very similar, as has B. The other thing I want to point out is that we have removed a lot of the brick from buildings C and D. Again, just to give some variation to the street view. There is a little brick that's remaining along the base, and that's basically because the site is sloping downward, so we have to have some masonry down at the bottom. Can't just have the wood framing come to the grade. So you will see some brick on C and D. The other thing I wanted to point out is previously we had detailed this to have these vertical areas of what we're calling paneled out areas, breaks from the siding. But we have changed that a bit because we really thought it added to the verticality of the building. So we didn't want it to look, as tall. So you'll see in the new version that we have changed that a bit. And we've also worked on the sides. You can't see it in this view. Might be able to see. Yeah, there were some areas in the side that just had some patches of vertical siding, and that was a comment. So we have worked on that as well. So let me now see if I can share the new version. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing something here.
Nope.
Seeing you.
Oh boy, why does this always happen?
Excuse me.
Let's see. I'll try again.
There you go.
Yes?
Yep.
Something's coming up.
Okay. All right, so this is, I'm just gonna go through, before I show you the renderings, I'm just gonna go through each building. And what we did was, I'll zoom in a minute, but on the bottom left, there's obviously a little colored rendering of the building that this sheet is about. So I thought it was best to kind of do that so you can really get a view of each building on one sheet. So this first sheet is Building B. Gonna zoom in a bit on the rendering. And again, not too much has changed on Building B. But again, you can see over here on the side elevation, we now have all brick where there was that patch of vertical siding on both inside and outside elevations. And then the other thing I wanted to point out, and this occurs on all the buildings, on the parking lot side, we have revised the columns. They were a single column on top of a brick plinth, and now we have double columns. We also simplified this horizontal banding, just cleaned it up and made it, not as wide as it was before. They were like, it was like a double band here. It was just a little bit too fussy, we thought. So we really tried to simplify a lot of the details. All right, let me zoom out. And go to the next sheet. So this is building C and D. And again, I'll show you in a minute in the composite. So these two buildings are pretty much identical. As I was explaining before, we now have the shed dormers on top and the roof line continues. We dip down the center where the stair is. So we have these breaks in the roof, but we did not, again, accentuate the verticality by having those 3 areas of white there. So we thought this was a better solution, just to keep the buildings looking a little lower. And again, the brick has been removed. We have vertical siding on top and horizontal siding on the bottom. So that's kind of a new feature that we did not have 2 weeks ago. So instead of the brick, we substituted it in some areas with horizontal siding. Let me see. Down. So C and D are the same, and this is building E. Not too much at all has changed on building E. It's pretty much the way you saw it before. Again, just the double columns in the back. As I pointed out before, we had brick here before. We cleaned up the side again. I think it had a patch of vertical, and then we just brought the brick all the way up to that horizontal banding. So again, E has remained pretty much the same except for those few areas. So this is, I will zoom in because this is the view that we saw from Greenwood. The existing building, which will have, and I'll go over the colors and the material palette in a minute, but the existing building, again, pretty much remaining the same, going to be painted. Building B, C, D, and E, as you see going along. And let me zoom out. And then from the parking lot side, you can see that island that Peter was referring to that we now have with a lamppost there, which we feel much better about. Just having a little break there and also getting some light onto the parking area other than the lights that are going to be mounted to the buildings. Again, the back of E, C, D, or vice versa, and building B, and then Dr. Volpentez's building in the background there. On your right, you see the view from School Street, which again has pretty much stayed the same. No major changes from last meeting. And then this is just the hard line composite, but really. And that's it. So I will go back and just briefly go over the color palette we have chosen is up here. I'll zoom in a little bit. It's really kind of muted and subdued. We didn't want anything too bold to single out any particular building. And again, these are colors right from a brand of cementatious siding called James Hardie. It's otherwise known as Hardie Plank. There are other manufacturers out there, but you know, this is one we use a lot, and these are actual colors from their palette. So for example, in the bottom right for building E, we've used kind of a white and a linen white together. I mean, I'm saying linen white because most people are familiar with that sort of an off-white. It's called cobblestone in the James Hardie line. And then the other white is Arctic white. So it's like a real white and then an off-white. But we're only using the real bright white as an accent in the gable here. Most of the body of the building is the off-white. We're suggesting Dr. Volpentez's building be painted the white, the Arctic white, and then the shutters would be this dark gray accent, iron gray, which is also, I'll back out a little, that's also the color of building C and D. And the white, Arctic white is the accent there. we have this pearl gray color on the bottom of C and D where I had pointed out there's some horizontal siding. So that we thought would be the pearl gray. I know in the bottom left, it looks like a lighter gray, but that's the iron gray continuing around, obviously on the back there. Shingles would be just an architectural shingle, asphalt shingle in a gray mixed. And the brick is a thin brick. It's called a brick veneer. And so there's many, many colors and patterns to choose, but we're going with like a traditional, pretty much a traditional red brick. The windows and the storefront. The storefront glazing you see here will be a clear anodized aluminum is what we're suggesting, and that will be the case on all the buildings. And the residential windows, we are suggesting terratone color, which is kind of a dark, warm, brownish gray, I guess you can say, which is right here. And that also will be the same throughout all the buildings. So you have that consistency in the windows, both the retail and the residential are different from each other, but consistent throughout all the buildings. And I think that covers it.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay, I will stop sharing now. There we go.
Thanks, Alyssa. I hope that
Right.
was responsive to the comments at the meeting 2 weeks ago. We don't really have anything else to submit or discuss tonight. We're hopeful that you'll agree that we've responded to all of the comments presented to you, and direct Beth to draft a resolution of approval, I guess. We'd love for you to approve it tonight, but it is what it is. So, but we're obviously happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Sorry, commission members, do you have any questions?
I only had one. Did we get a sign off from Laura Vasile? I know she had a question about the size of the dumpster. Has that all been settled?
Yeah, so I didn't address that in going through the site plan, but we did increase the size of the dumpster area to match the request from the health department. Beth, did we get a comment back from them?
No, I didn't. You know, going through all her comments, that was the one technical in nature that I felt should be addressed by the applicant at this time. Oh, also with the, she did mention something about open areas and things of that nature. And with the incorporation of the courtyard and the amenities that the applicants added as far as benches, open areas, congregate areas, I think that that suffices in this instance as far as it meets the requirements of our TOD.
I'd also point out the large grass area directly across the street.
Well, I wasn't going to go there again, Peter. I only did it once. I just want to note for the record too that in the drive, if everybody had a chance to look, there is an email from Tom Galliford, the fire marshal, saying he's satisfied with the changes that have been made in regards to this application. Also, just my own comments. I do like the proposed changes in colors. I think it breaks it up. I think it gives a uniqueness to each of the buildings. And also breaking up the brick on the bottom. Again, I think it gives more opportunities for those that are going to be using those units if we're not dealing with a brick facade or whatever. If they want to make window changes and things like that as the project goes along, that can be done very easily. And again, the elimination of the vertical mixing with the brick over on the School Street side, I think it makes that frontage there on School Street pop. And I do like lowering of the roof lines in order to give the effect of a not as tall building. Sorry, I'm not saying that correctly, but I think you understand what I mean.
Beth, I had a question. Could we have the view from building E from the back?
Sorry, Alyssa, that's your job.
Okay, here I go.
Now she's nervous.
Let's put her on the spot.
I'm so bad at this. Tell me if you see something.
There it is, right
There
there.
it is.
Perfect.
That's the front. That's not the back.
Um,
Back?
So you want the back, which is on the bottom left. I can zoom in on it.
No, it's perfect, just like that. Okay.
Here it is.
The question I have is on, let's see, A, B, C, and D, you have quite a contrast around all the windows. But on building E, the building is a little whitewashed because the trim is quite pale compared to the other buildings. Is that,
Yes, well,
But
and also I think the way the lighting is in this rendering, it's showing up more washed out than it actually is. But the idea was to have that soft white and then the trim be the white. So it's just kind of this play on the, the white and the off-white, which you can see better and more successfully, here, like up in the top is white and then this is the off-white, and that idea would continue around, and it's more successful here also. But I think it's just the lighting in this rendering is very washed out for some reason in that view.
okay,
But, that's the idea. You can see in the actual color palette above, I mean,
Right.
they are,
You can check out 10 Chestnut Street. It's very similar with the off-white and the white.
all
yeah,
right, yeah,
thank you, Steve.
Oh, okay.
thank you, that's good. That was my only question.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken. Are there any other questions from commission members?
I think it's time, Pat, for you to do a consensus by roll call on if we should ask our zoning official to move forward with possibly a resolution of approval.
Thank you, Johnny. I'm just going to confirm with Beth that, Beth, you're happy that all the health department requests have been met, correct?
That's a difficult question to answer, Pat, because I'm happy that we've met the technical requirements that the health department has requested in regards to the site plan.
Mhm.
I have difficulty in being as concerned as the health department is with outside environmental concerns for residents.
Okay.
And environmental, I mean, open space areas, gathering areas, things of that nature.
All right. Do you think that could get in the way of us doing a consensus to move this forward?
Absolutely not.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So I will reach out. If we're all in agreement to move this toward a resolution of approval, send this request to Beth. So we'll do it by individuals. I agree it should move forward. Kitty?
I agree. We should move forward.
Bob Legnard?
I agree it should move forward. I think to be commended on the cooperation to get this thing to this point. Thank you.
John?
I would be in favor, thank you.
Ken?
Yes, go ahead.
Rich?
Yep, in favor.
Penny?
Yes.
Rob Stoll?
Agreed.
Linda?
Absolutely.
Rob Wallace?
Enthusiastic, yes.
Okay, if someone would be kind enough to make the motion.
No, there's no motion.
I'm sorry.
Just a consensus.
Show me something on paper and I
I
might consider a
apologize.
motion.
No, I apologize with the consensus that we're going to ask Beth to draft a resolution of approval.
Right, and then we'll throw some motions out there.
Roman.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alyssa, for all the work you did on it.
Peter.
Next on our agenda, ECB Realty LLC Special Permit Site Plan Renewal, 22 Stony Hill.
And I think Attorney Marcus is here.
He's there.
Yes.
I'm doing the magic mirror, Attorney Marcus, and I think Dynas is here. And if they have anybody else that they want to join, let us know.
I think just the two of us, Beth. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the again, for the record, Neil Marcus, Cohen Wolf, DC 158 Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury. And with me, of course, you can see on the screen is Donis Fabricus from Artel Engineering. I had written a letter to Pat on January 4th, asking that we amend a condition of approval from July of 2014, when we got the site plan and special permit, I should say, approved for a gas station convenience store on 22 Stony Hill Road. As I explained in my letter to Pat, the economic conditions at the time were not lending themselves to moving forward on that site. We think now that we may have a project start. When we looked back at the approval, we realized, of course, that we had to deal with paragraph 16 that reads, construction improvements shall commence within 1 year and be completed within 5 of the date of the approval. So 1 year from the date of that approval has long expired. That would have been 2015. And the project would have been completed by 2020. So we are going to ask that you consider amending the approval to allow that we actually, what I would like to do is to ask that we be allowed to complete the project within the 10-year period that the regulations would allow from the original date of approval, which gives us another 3 years essentially to start and complete. So that's why we're here. Our position with respect to the circumstances surrounding the site itself is that not too much has changed as it would impact this site. Now, there's been a lot of residential development further east of Stony Hill, obviously, since 2014. But to the extent that the proposed use, if you listen to the traffic engineers over the years, they'll always tell you that when you've got a gas station or a convenience store, or even basically most of the fast food restaurants, they serve for the most part, the traffic that is in the area, which is to say, not too many people drive out of their way to go to their favorite gas station, as opposed to stopping at the one that they pass by on their way to the store or the supermarket, on their way to work or whatever. So the fact that we have new housing further up the road really does not affect our original traffic generation numbers. Now, on the other hand, interestingly enough, right now, if you talk to any of the traffic engineers, we're in a strange time, the new normal. The new normal is that people drive much less to grocery stores. People drive much less to restaurants, and God only hopes that some of the restaurants can survive because they're in trouble. People don't drive to work very much. I noticed that in my own office on Deer Hill in Danbury, it's empty. I mean, we used to have, we used to have 9 lawyers and staff, and now on a busy day, I have 3 lawyers in the office and 1 staff member, maybe 2. We don't see clients much anymore. They used to drop by once in a while to see us. Doesn't happen. I don't get in my car and drive to the Bethel Town Hall anymore, because if I do, they don't want me in there. I'm not sure they wanted me in the old days either, but they used to let me in. But clearly, life is much different. So the real question is, when's it going to go back to what we used to have, when I would actually stop at the gas station myself and fill up my car at least once, twice a week because I had to drive it somewhere, as opposed to now where if I get to the gas station once every 2 weeks, it's a lot. So I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm not sure when the world will return to what we used to consider normal. And quite honestly, I don't think it ever will. I think people are not going to commute to work as much. I think that, if we're all feeling more comfortable, we'll start going out to movies and we'll start going out to restaurants. But traffic, I think, as we do it, is not going to be back at the levels pre-pandemic for quite some time. So having said that, I think that, any other impacts as a result of changes to the neighborhood don't exist. There haven't been any other developments right adjacent to the property that would any way affect our engineering, our drainage calc, all the stuff that you guys considered in 14 when you approved the project, you approved the site plan. And Dinus, of course, is here to answer questions of more technical nature. But generally speaking, we would like to just have the commission consider that we can move forward as was originally approved. I'll answer any questions, or better yet, I'll defer them to Dinus and he'll answer your questions. You look too comfortable there.
Neil, did you listen to the tape from the last meeting?
No, I didn't actually. No.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Actually, John, what I spoke about tonight is what we would normally consider anytime we're going to extend any approval, whether it's a subdivision. We always talk about, what are the changes that might make a commission reconsider the approval and say, well, we're starting with a clean slate, bring us back a different project. And quite honestly, there has been. I'll tell you, there's one change. When we did that gas station, there were really no other gas stations out on Stony Hill. There is a new station further out on Stony Hill that has, I believe, been built in the last 4 or 5 years, if I recall. But that is a change. But that goes to issues of, will this gas station have more competition when it's built? Possibly. But that's really not the commission's concern.
Right. You know that the private sector is what dictates what stores work on Route 6. So we let the private sector, if the use fits the zone, we don't decide that we got 6 of them, we don't need 7, right? So that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I agree. That's 100. That's a completely factual statement. Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
And you certainly don't believe that we're going to get rid of this pandemic and we're going to start driving and going to restaurants, right?
It's interesting.
That was silly.
I don't know. I do think that life will change and go back to something closer to what we used to have. But quite honestly, on the whole issue of gas stations, I think the future is electric vehicles. And when they get here, I'm not sure what we're going to do with all our gas stations, but I'm not sure I'll be here to see that.
Right. So maybe you're with all of you spent a couple of minutes talking about how we changed and the pandemic and we're never going to go to the movies again. I mean, that was silly, but maybe you should tell your client, maybe a gas station doesn't work because we're not going to go to work anymore.
Well, or we're going to drive electric vehicles. But at the moment, as I say, I think that we are all being optimistic and we haven't really shut down the fact that we would like things to progress. And we see progress as what was life prior to this brief interlude. So I do think we'll go. No, I said I think we will go back to the movies and we will go back to restaurants. I just don't know if we're going to go back in the same numbers as we did before. I think people are generally just going to be more cautious because of
right. So there's a reason why when a commission makes an approval that they do time limits on it, a start and a finish. Number one, we don't want a project half done, but in addition to that, sometimes conditions change in an area. And the last meeting, when Beth asked us if we would give a standard extension, and I'm only one vote, thought that conditions out on Route 6 changed. And certainly there's a lot of new commissioners, and I didn't think it was fair for everybody to say, yeah, let's give it another 5 years. So that's why I asked you if you listened to the meeting from 2 weeks ago, but I thought it was important to get everybody up to speed. And that's why you were invited to tonight's meeting, because a couple of cranky commissioners thought that maybe it wasn't a good idea to just, give it another 5 year to finish it out. So that's how we got to tonight.
Okay, I want to expound on that a little bit too. The one thing that, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, is I did speak to Neil, and 2 points came up. Number one is I reminded the commission that the special permit part of this approval doesn't expire. So number one, the gas station was part of the special permit. And number two, the drive-through is part of the special permit. The only thing that you're reviewing, or that I believe you can review in regards to this whole property, is the site plan.
Right.
And in those discussions and talking about the site plan, concern was voiced about the changes that have occurred on Route 6 pertaining to traffic. Concern was voiced about where the entrances and exits were on this particular site plan, if I recall.
Those are my concerns, yeah.
The other side of Neil's comments are that maybe people aren't driving to White Plains anymore to go to work. They may be driving more locally now than they ever were before. All you have to do is go up in the school complex and see the mothers picking up the kids from the school because they don't want them on the school bus.
Right.
Bob,
there's more local driving being done than it was ever done before, probably.
And
Yeah,
Route
hey,
6,
Bob, I gotta tell you in response to that, if I can, I drive from Reading to Danbury every day of the week and back, and I will tell you that there is very little traffic going through Bethel in about between 8 and 9 in the morning compared to what was here a year and a half ago. It's in the same in Danbury. There's very little traffic. It used to get botched up down on South Street, and the old rush hour out of Danbury where you actually sit in traffic doesn't exist anymore. But
That's what I'm saying, but they might be driving. They might be doing more driving during the day than they ever did before.
Possibly, yeah. But we're on Stony Hill when we were discussing the site plan. We were mostly worried about the peaks. I think.
and I'm on Stony Hill 3 mornings a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And let me tell you, there is traffic on Stony Hill.
Wow.
And if anything happens on 84, then you don't even bother going to 84. I mean to Route 6, because that is not once a month. That is more frequently than you can imagine. So Route 6 is not an empty avenue.
I do have to say though that I see what Neil is. I do understand part of what Neil is saying is that our driving patterns have changed over the last 12 months.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, prior to the pandemic, I would say that, yes, I have seen an increase in traffic and such on the Route 6 area. Obviously, that's where I am most of the time. So I think we're in a very difficult position to ask for more information pertaining to traffic. For example, asking for more traffic counts, traffic studies, things of that nature.
Not a normal time.
I don't think that they will be consistent
Right.
for the future
Right.
If
based
I
on
could,
what we have going on now. Dinus.
if I could chime in, it's not just a picture of me here. Dinus Verbicus for the record. Important thing to note is that when we went through the process for the site plan approval, we had our traffic engineer analyze, and of course in the analysis they include future counts and future builds, and that's all taken into account. And I suspect that also some of these larger residential developments also had to go through the same process with respect to traffic engineering and analyses. And when traffic engineers do their analyses, they incorporate site plans that have been approved and incorporate the trips and estimates that are taken from these developments that have been approved and though not built, they assume that they will be built. And I'm sure that as all these other developments have been allowed to develop, these trips from our site would have been taken into account as well. Something else to note is that, you know, in addition to approvals through the commission, we were granted a review, well, we were reviewed and ultimately granted approval by the district DOT, and the in association with our approvals, we were required to make modifications to the side road as well as to Stony Hill Road, based on the DOT's review comments. So there's some widening that's associated with it and so on. So regardless of what the trips are or how the travel may seem now on Stony Hill Road, it's a major thoroughfare, and whether or not we have a gas station, I don't think is going to make a difference with respect to how many trips are generated. People are still going to be going there, and all we are offering is a place where people can turn right into the site off of Stony Hill Road, going towards Danbury from Newtown side, and right back out. The only way that they can make any other movements or turns would be coming off the side street and sitting under the light, so it would be a signalized exit.
Dennis,
So
I think,
again,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but as you're giving your explanation, I think it's more helpful, again, to John's point, that there's several new commission members that have never even looked really at the site plan until I uploaded it to the drive. So would you mind just taking them through the entrance and exits of the site and some of the changes you had made according to the state?
Sure. I mean, if you let me share, I'll happy to share.
Is David still here?
Yes.
Yep, I'm here. Dinus, you should be able to share your screen, no problem.
Thank
Okay,
you,
great.
Dennis, and I apologize, but I
No,
think the visual will
please.
help them.
I'm here to help, or at least get out of the way. Oh. Ta-da. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, terrific. So this is the site plan that was prepared for 22 Stony Hill Road. And for orientation purposes, if you look off to the upper left corner is heading towards Danbury, towards exit 8 interchange. And then towards the lower right in this direction is heading back towards exit 9 off of 84, or towards Big Y. And here's a Hawleyville Road, a side street, intersection with Stony Hill Road. And what we've proposed on this corner piece is roughly a 3,100 square foot retail building associated with a gasoline station. The retail element includes, gasoline sales, as well as perhaps a second separate entity, or in conjunction with the gasoline station itself. It's been set up so that it can operate either way. The gas station element includes 4 dispenser islands, which are located in this gray area. And I can zoom in if anyone wants, but I thought I'd give an overview at first. So 4 dispenser islands, providing for 8 fueling positions, 1 on either side. With the retail element, we do have 9 parking spaces, including 2 handicap spaces located right up against the sidewalk in front of the building. And across the way, across the parking lot, we've got an additional 10 parking spaces proposed, again, for people that would be utilizing the convenience or associated use on the on the building. With respect to vehicles coming and going, we do have an inbound driveway located at the, I guess, the easternmost edge of the property. And that would allow vehicles to turn in off of Stony Hill Road and make their way to either the fueling positions or into the parking spaces on either side. People can then exit either via Hollyville Road, which we can turn in either direction, head to Vale Road towards Brookfield or to Hollyville Road, and then decide which way you want to go at the light. Or if somebody wants, they can also exit out onto Stony Hill Road via a right turn only exit. One thing that the state DOT had required us to do, that every once in a while you may have somebody who wants to try and make a left turn into the gasoline station from Stony Hill Road, and the DOT asked that we widen out the south side of Stony Hill Road to allow for someone to bypass a vehicle that is stopped waiting to make this left-hand turn. So in anticipation of perhaps somebody trying to make that turn, the DOT asked us to make this widening and taper as well back into existing road width a little bit further towards the east. So in a nutshell, I mean, it's the building sits nice and proud in the point. The parking is kind of hidden away from the entryway, kind of I would think the gateway towards Bethel or to the Stony Hill section of Bethel. And the canopy and dispensers are also kind of tucked away from view. So anybody coming up in towards the Stony Hill area will see the building first, as you would want to have such a development look like. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Water and sewer provided through the municipality. Our stormwater management system, we've got something proposed underneath the drive-through area. I believe there's one other, and we discharge out into existing storm drainage facilities. And that's about it in a nutshell.
Dennis, thank you. Just to bring up one other point in thinking about that area and changes that have occurred since the site plan was approved, there was one traffic change that was recently made by the town of Bethel. When you're traveling from the intersection of Old Hollyville and Route 6, there is a road on the right-hand side called McNeil Road. That has been made one way, and it is not one way in, it's one way out. So that has eliminated another cut through, is basically what they called it, to reach Hollyville Road and get back on Vale Road. So I do think that overall there has been an increase in traffic going up to that intersection.
Okay.
The commission follow me on that?
Yep.
Yes.
Dennis, could you zoom in on the intersection of Hollyville and Route 6, kind of at the triangle diamond? Yeah. So I can't believe that we approved that without any landscaping on that site plan out there in that corner.
John, I believe that we did do, I just threw this up. I do believe that there is a landscape plan, but looking at the sight lines there, I believe at the time we had to take under consideration being able to come out of Hollyville, and it's difficult to make a left-hand turn when you're exiting that intersection there.
No, that's a lot of traffic.
But I know there is a landscape plan, Dinus. Don't you agree?
You know, and yeah, and today when I was in the office and the staff was asking, oh, you know, what do you want? I said, just give me the site plan and grading utility plan. didn't even come to mind to think about the
Yeah.
landscape.
I
plan, but
can
I think-
pull that information out and also
Okay,
upload it there.
Okay.
Just another question in regards to this too. Did we make some improvements? Well, I know that there's a pole there, a telephone pole or something. Yep, the existing pole had to be relocated. So there were some turning radiuses improvements that were made there. If everyone's familiar with that intersection, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there is a pole there right on the corner,
this one?
very, very close, that tends to interfere with making a right-hand turn. When you're coming off of Stony Hill to make a right-hand turn onto, what is it,
Oh.
Hollyville?
Hollyville.
They do propose to move that pole. Am I correct, Ines? It looks like in the diet, again, my eyesight is going to. It looks
Well, I
like,
think certainly what we've done is actually we're keeping the utility pole in place, but we're widening out and rounding out this turn.
Right,
to
they're
make
cutting
it
that whole
easier.
corner out. Yeah.
right, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I've already made the corner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this utility pole
Yes.
is being relocated. Absolutely.
She's driving her cursor that we're not sharing with her. We can't see it.
I'm gonna change it to an emoji or something.
Yeah. So what this making a huge improvement to this intersection. So a right turn from Stony Hill Road onto Hollyville is
It's softer.
much
yeah.
easier. So it's no longer a big sharp hairpin turn.
And we do have sidewalks with this too, don't we?
Yes, we have sidewalks to allow
see
for
the
crossing.
steps.
At the intersection, we also have a sidewalk that runs down Hollyville and one that runs down Stony Hill Road. And I do recall, again, it's a memory from 7 years ago or so, 6 years, but I do recall some landscaping taking place here, and I do recall landscaping off to the north portion of the site. But I know, again, it was a rather big deal because at the time we were considering it the gateway to the Stony Hill Road section of town.
And
we
I
wanted
think
to make sure that we did not do.
me and Abigail, I think, worked on that. We did some type of landscaping on the corner.
Yeah.
Enhanced landscaping, I would say.
Yes,
Well-
but again, I apologize. I didn't even think to bring it up.
Well, I think this little exercise changed my mind. And for the record, I want everybody to know it wasn't Neil's opening statement that changed my mind on giving an extension to this application. Neil, you heard me, right, Neil?
No, I was actually tuning you on. I put you on silent.
Yeah.
First I heard you.
That's okay. You go back to the videotape, Neil.
I was trying to find the mute button, John.
Yeah, I was almost waiting for him to say it doesn't snow anymore in Connecticut like he did years ago.
Having a major snowstorm tonight, there'll be an inch on the ground in the morning.
Oh, God.
I have a question. I have a question for you. You mentioned something about you have 10 years to build this. You're only looking for a 3-year extension on.
Well, your regulations, Bob, talk about site plan approving the site plan running out after a certain period of time, but you can extend it. You can, and the maximum extension under your regs is 10 years.
Right.
Well, yeah, usually it's every 2, so.
Now, the extension, right. And usually when someone is asking for an extension, it's basically what we did at the last meeting. But I do feel that John's points on, we keep calling them new members, but they're not that new anymore. Members are not familiar with some of these proposals, and I do think it's important to go through the review process.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Maybe without Neil next time, but that's fair.
Well, Dynasty did a great job.
Oh, goodness.
I couldn't even find my map, let alone my site plan, like my landscaping plan.
So I'm just curious, if things continue to change out on Route 6, and we know they will. I'm thinking once the other piece of the Rubino property is sold, I was actually out there last week and I was looking at the lines of traffic coming in Hollyville. And I was quite surprised at the length of the line of traffic coming up to the traffic light.
Oh, there always is.
And I know the houses out there, there's only 10 or 11 new houses, so we don't anticipate a ton of traffic. But I was thinking about the building we've been doing in Berkshire Park. And that's also creating additional cars in and out of the park. Will there be an opportunity to revisit once COVID is gone and traffic will begin to pick up again? People will be going back to work. They will be going back into offices. Will we get an opportunity to revisit this again?
Well,
When it expires again.
Unless they start building.
unless we get the thing built as we plan to, yes. Actually, Kitty, I got to tell you, I hope you don't have to revisit it again, but I can't rule it out.
But you know we will.
Possibly.
All right, so Beth, do you need a consensus on amending
How much
this
of
to
an extension are we giving them?
2024?
I don't have, I would do the standard 5-year extension.
Okay.
Can we turn off Dinah's screen now?
Just so we can see.
I quit sharing.
Guys.
Thank you, Dinah.
Thank you, Dennis.
I wouldn't do anything outside the norm as far as an extension
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
because they're difficult enough to track.
Well, that's my
But
question.
I was just thinking it started in 2014.
The approval date is, I pulled out the special permit. It was approved July 8th, 2014.
Right, so if our plan is the 10 years, that takes it to 2024.
Okay.
That's right, Neil?
But I believe Beth, I don't have my regs here. They're in my office, but I believe 8C of your regulations limits a site plan to a total of overall 10 years to get to be built. I believe that's what
That would be
8C
2024.
So you got 2024.
So we can make a motion to give an
2024.
extension from the date of approval, and that would give it the 5 years. So that would give you 4 more years,
Right,
3.5. Yeah, perfect.
3.5.
exactly.
For Neil to
That's-
start driving again.
Yeah.
Okay, so Neil's eyesight, I will say, is going a little bit since we all have the giggles tonight. It was 8G, but boy, he was close.
Oh, that's not bad. Hey, Beth,
That's
in
not bad.
my age, that's good memory.
C for G, that's really good. All are part of the work, blah, blah, blah. Total extensions cannot exceed 10 years from the date of the approval of such site plan.
Right.
Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome.
So the extension will be to July 2024,
July 11th, 2024.
right?
And that what you would need to make a motion
That's it.
to
Make a
do that.
motion to that. Okay.
I'm sorry, Bob, what did you say?
Make a motion that we extend it to July, whatever, 11th, 2024.
2024.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Dinus.
Have a good night, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good night,
Thank you.
all.
Good night.
Thank-
All right, Neil.
All right, next under new business, Infinity Enterprises LLC, 25 FJ Clark Circle.
This is a proposed site plan. It is for approximately a 13,000 square foot building located at the corner of Trowbridge Drive and FJ Clark Circle. It's kind of exciting to see new construction going on there. The property was recently sold and they've made a lot of improvements to the property. Because of the size of the building, it's the second building on the lot. It's very visible from the road, so I don't think there's any issue or need for a site walk at this time. And I would request that you set a public hearing date for March 9th and refer it to all your departments.
If I may have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
That's said.
Ah,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next, planning and zoning official report, 77 South Street wall rebuild.
Okay, in regards to that, I believe Chris Campanera is here. David,
He
if you
is,
allow him to either share screen or have access to our drives with the proposals in there. This is
Yep.
in regards to 77 South Street. Everyone is aware of, I call it the travesty that happened with the wall falling down to the rear of the Verde building. And I'll turn it over to Chris, and if Mike, it was Mike here too, Mike Kozlowski?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, if you want to unmute him too, so they can tell us all about it.
Yeah, they're unmuted and they can share their screen as
Very
they
good.
need.
Good evening,
All right.
guys.
Good evening. Mike Kozlowski here, part owner of 77 South Street. As Beth explained, we unfortunately have not been under construction yet over there. We had the unfortunate incident back in the summer of about August, the beginning of August, where the wind took down a good portion of our brick wall, unfortunately affected our neighbors as well. After the, no pun intended, dust has settled, we've figured out with insurance companies and everything else our course of action. In the meantime, we've temporarily shored up the building. It's safe for the neighbors, the community around us, and even if you were walking in it. But our next step would be to enclose the building back to what it was like. That's what the insurance company would like. That's what the banks financing the project would like. So basically, we're here before you to ask for your approval to submit for a building permit application so that we can start the reconstruction of the wall prior to the fit out of the approved development that you guys approved last summer of July. So I'm going to quickly just share my screen. All right. Let me know when you can see it.
we can see it.
All right. Thank you. So this is basically a footprint of our current structure. This dark hatched wall here was the brick wall that came down. Our plan is to rebuild the wall as is. It is a fire rated wall. So and now it was a structural wall. We have had enlisted the services of the DeSalvo Erickson Group in Danbury to engineer the new wall that's coming in. 2x6, 16-inch on center wall, fire rated, fire treated materials, plywood, studs. It would protrude up 30 inches, which is per code, past our roof line, which is different than what was previously there because the building was built in the early 1900s. And then I have elevations as well I would like to share.
Yep, you should be able to share those, no problem.
Yep, I'm just locating them. Apparently I just put them in a bad spot. There we go. All righty. So basically this would be the wall. You're seeing a lot of the wall here that you really wanted because our neighbors adjacent to us, this is the alleyway. So basically here you see the wall coming up to the ridge, the 2x4 frame wall. This is the extension off to the side here that we have. Again, we have to build it exactly to the way it was. And then this would be a view from the parking lot side, I'll call when we complete the development. And then this would be the view from the train tracks over here. So basically that's it in a nutshell. It's a wall.
Is it going back to the original height?
Pat, we have to go about 12 inches higher than what is currently there, just
Okay.
because again, fire rated wall construction is different from the early 1900s.
Okay,
So we have to go 30 inches past our roof line.
so there's no concern that another storm coming through could take that wall down again?
No, we have enlisted, again, the services of the Salvo Erickson Group to structurally engineer the wall.
Okay,
Excellent.
Okay, so can you just go over the materials that are going to be used on the exterior of the wall?
Yes. Again, this would be pending. We still have an outstanding, before we submit for a building permit application for the fit out of the apartment development, we still have to go back to the Architecture Review Board as part of our final, to finalize that. And we would bring this to them as well to go over the colors to finalize that. But what we're doing is a 2x6 wood framed wall. We'll have hardy siding, which Elisa described in her earlier part of the meeting. It would be trimmed out with white trim that would match the rest of the building.
And the reason they're here tonight is to just really, it's not so much the structure of the wall, but because unfortunately we're losing the brick, and we're changing it now to materials that are more compatible within the TOD. I felt because of the historic nature of the building, it was important for you to see this and to okay.
Again, this wall, you're seeing a lot of it in this drawing right now. The two views on the bottom, and this is really from the private side of the development. This is where you'll see, this is really the view you'll see the most of it. And you'll see maybe about 8 feet of it as you're coming down the train tracks right here.
Okay.
What's the reason for it to be fire rated? It's the closeness to the other building, or?
It's exactly right. It's on the property line. We're on the 0 lot line right there. It's a pre-existing condition. Anytime you're within 10 feet of a property line, you have to have a 1 hour rated wall. The reason being, even if you were 10 feet away, your neighbor could then come to the property line, and you have to protect yourselves from both sides there. So the brick is a natural, a masonry wall is a natural 1 hour rated wall. Any other questions?
any commission member questions?
No, I think it looks great.
Beth, what do you need from us? Anything?
What I would like is a consensus from you, because it is a department permit that's going to be issued in regards
Okay.
to this consensus, that you agree with the facade drawings. That's not so much the structural drawings. This is SK1, the drawing that he has now with the wall, showing the materials to be used. Right? Help me with this, Mike.
Yes, I'm sorry. SK1,
Does it have a date, 1/22/21?
Yes, and it is just to submit to show the extended parapet that is required for the firewall and the white trim and the hardy siding that would match the rest of the development.
Okay, so what I'm looking for is a consensus of the commission. We'll put it in the minutes.
Okay.
That way I have something to refer to when I issue the permit.
Okay, perfect. I agree with this, and I'm so sorry you had to go through this.
Oh,
Kitty,
I agree.
Bob,
I agree.
John,
I'm good, thank you.
Ken,
Yes.
Rich Tibbetts,
Yep, all good.
Penny?
Chris, this is Penny Kessler, formerly of Dr. Stanley Kessler at the end of Village Square. What a nightmare, and I'm so grateful that you're able to keep this going. And yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Rob Stoll,
Agreed.
Linda Curtis,
Yep, I'm good.
Rob Wallace.
Okay, here.
All right, are you all set, Beth?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And that,
All right, next under official report, traffic consultant contract.
Yep, we have received a proposal, and let's see, David. What we have is a request from Frederick Clark Associates to have them become our traffic consultant on call.
oh,
And what I'm going to ask for the commission to do is to, I'll include it as far as the application process. And there will be a fee associated with that. We just make it very known in the application that there is a fee. It's an outside consultant service, similar to our village architect. Not our village architect, I'm sorry, our TOD architect. So there's no question of being able to use Frederick Clark. Also because opportunities come along for Michael to do other developments here in town, and to do traffic's work for them. And it's a matter of, if he does work for us, he can't work for anyone else that does proposals here in town. And he just wants to verify that in writing.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So that's noted as received, and you all agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And accessory apartments, we have that regulation change coming up in the 9th of February, along with the public hearing for 28 South Street, the same night. My question is, are you going to want to go do a site walk for 28 South Street?
I think it's a good idea.
I don't think we have to.
You don't think you have to at this point? Okay, because you can always start the public hearing.
All right.
I just asked because I wasn't sure, but sometimes when you wait until you start the public hearing, something may pop out at you. And then at that point, you still have the opportunity to do a site walk if you so desire.
Okay.
Okay?
I have to apologize. 28 South Street is what building?
That is next door to the old, no, it sounds like a townie, the old Shepherd House.
That's a blue one.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
Um,
30G proposed there with 5 units behind it.
I think I'm all for doing a site walk on that because I think we need to get a visual on what that's going to look like.
Well, I think that, again, I didn't know you'd have 2 options. You can try to do it now, but again, if you start the public hearing and you go through the process, there may be things that you might want to see staked out in the field.
Okay.
So I think it might be better to start your hearing and then get down to more precise items that you may need to see done in the field. And just keep your fingers crossed that we don't have snow.
This time we don't need a site walk. We may need one in the future.
Okay.
All right.
And that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. Commission member comments.
Good for now.
Hearing none, move out to public input.
BJ.
Hello, BJ. Hello, BJ. Unmute yourself, BJ.
BJ, at least say hello.
She's muted. Unmute, BJ.
It's a robot. It's a robot. I always see that.
She's napping.
Okay, I guess that's it, Gay.
That's it. All right. Motion to adjourn, please.
Second, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I did both.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? We are adjourned. Thank you.